Now let's take some audience questions. Ethan, this one's for you from Scott Leedy. Is Rajon Rondo the best point guard in the NBA or best point guard of all time?
That's obviously trying to cleverly bait me. I have a Rondo issue, but I think that there is much room for debate here. I think that it's sort of ironic
Rajon Rondo.
You hate him.
You hate him like he's on the Warriors.
That doesn't make me any different from the people in the Celtics locker room
Heyo.
But no, I think it's interesting because scores tend to get overrated. That's what we say. People who score get overvalued. But I think that ironically, the guy who's the most overrated in the league is somebody who refuses to score. And I think it's because we have a platonic point guard ideal, an idea of what a point guard is supposed to do, and that's pass first. But Rondo is so far to that extreme that I think it hinders his offense. Over the last 5 years, Boston's only had a top 10 offense once, and they've had some very nice talent over that stretch. And I think that as a point guard, your primary responsibility is to run the offense. And if he is such a great player, if he is a multiple all-star, then why is not happening there, and why has it not been happening? So I just think he's overvalued. He's number 17 in NBA rank. I think that's ridiculous. That's insane. Not that that's the end-all, be-all for how we rate players, but oh, wait a second, ESPN company man, that is the end-all, be-all of how we rate players, and that's why I have an issue with it.
Are you happier now because he's averaging 14 points a game? He's up to scoring.
Happier in what sense? I think he's at last I checked, he's 39th in PER right now. So
how is that
it's
bad,
not like
though?
It's not bad. It's just it's not multiple all-star. Somebody who, by the way, not long ago people were arguing was possibly the best point guard in the league and better than Chris Paul. This was an argument made by many people.
So it was an argument made by Celtics fans.
Inflated perceptions because he was on a winning team, and he was the point guard on the best point guard on the best team. Once the Bulls and Thunder started playing better, and once Chris Paul went to the Clippers, it became very obvious to everybody that there were better point guards out there who win. His shooting is a problem. There's no question about it.
Oh, for sure.
But
isn't that why him
so
not
special.
shooting is a good thing? Like, he knows his limitations. Isn't that value in not
for other
hurting
positions,
your
I think it definitely limits his other. But I like your point, Ethan, about positional as like being a prototype and how that shapes the way we look at someone. Josh Smith is a player who isn't a prototype. He's maybe a new age power forward prototype of a guy who can play on the perimeter defensively, protect the rim, handle the ball a little bit. But I think he goes a little bit underrated because he is outside of the box, whereas Rondo fulfills a lot of
issues with this.
Okay,
Josh Smith is not that good. I mean, he's a very good basketball player. He is inefficient. He is absent-minded on offense all the time. And he's untrustworthy. You can't trust him to do anything that is going to get them where they need to be.
He's all of those things. He's all of those things, but he's still an all-star quality player. And I think that's what people can't process.
Oh, for sure.
He is all of those things, but he provides enough defense from the 4 spot. I mean, Al Horford went down, and that team did not get worse. They, in fact, might have even gotten better, in the short term at least. That's impressive. And you can't attribute that all to Josh Smith, but considering that he has the best offensive efficiency of any player, although you could argue depending on what metric you use, and he's by far the best defensive player on that team, and that team is a lot better than you think it should be, I think that Josh Smith deserves some credit.
How about this? Rajon Rondo, 15.2 points per game on 12 shots per game. Your beloved Josh Smith, 16 points per game on 14.3 shots. Who is hurting their team on offense more?
Well, I would say that the Hawks have a better offense than the Boston Celtics do, and I would say that although Rondo individually has slightly better offensive numbers, that power forward has a much bigger defensive impact than a 5'10" point guard does. So that would be my response.
He's not 5'10".
He's if you want to look at the Draft Express, God, I hope I'm right. I'm saying it with such a snooty tone. I just hope I'm right.
Oh my God, there's no way this is correct.
I have no idea if I'm right. Like, I am just saying, well, if you go and see it, if you just look it up, then you'll see that I am, and let's wait for it to load. Come on.
Buffering,
oh, no,
buffering.
Buffering. No, he's, it says that his physical says that he's 6'1". So, yeah.
And how long are his arms? Does he have a wingspan reach?
I'm still going to go to the pre-draft measurements on this one. That's what
you're like,
clamor for.
You're closing it out. Oh no, it's nothing on wingspan either. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Oh, he has a good wingspan. You know, he has a decent wingspan. But
so why do you care about his height? I thought you didn't care about height. I thought it was all about wingspan.
That was just something I was just throwing.
That was just when I was arguing in that direction.
He's moved on to fat people having potential. That's what he's moved on to.
Look, I think they have untapped potential, unskinnied potential. It's a different discussion for a different day. But yes, in all seriousness, I really do think that point guard is the least. It's if you chart plus minus impacts for players and by position, point guard does have the least amount of impact, and I think that's because in a very boring, reductive way, occupying more space, which is also a cultural meme right now, occupying more space is a bigger deal on defense than it is on offense. So I think that's why
point guard is the least impactful on what? Just defense or overall?
Defense. Most impactful for offense. I mean, they look at Steve Nash, for instance. They've had ridiculous offensive numbers up until this year. I can't, off the top of my head, remember what it is, but he had a long string of running the number one offense. And there's some other components there, but I think that it's an offense-oriented position. I think that we often think for positions in terms of it's 50% this and 50% that. Like, that's your responsibility. That's half the game. And Steve Nash shouldn't get MVP because who can he guard? But in all honesty, I think that if you're a point guard, most of your responsibility, it might be 70% offense versus 30% defense. And then that's swung the other way if you're a center or a power forward.
Right, but he's creating a minimum of 33 points a game if you just go off his points average and his assists counting for twos. I mean, 33 points a game is a lot to contribute.
Are we talking about the 5'10" Rondo in my mind, or the 6'1" Rondo who exists in real life?
Who may actually exist.
There might actually, I think I figured it out. There might be a different Rajon Rondo in the league that I had no idea who it was, and that's the one that Ethan hates.
Yeah, well, I think that there is something to be said for not your contributions. We're pretty good at tracking offense per the individual, but I do think that there is something to be said for your contributions on offense can't be reduced to just that. And if you gum up the game and you reduce the amount of spacing all around you, you can be racking up assists, but kind of to what end? And I do think it's suspicious that their offense sputters and doesn't look good. So, I mean, that is my argument. I said that there's room for subjectivity, Zach. I do not intend to smash you, but especially because that means something else. But
if only you were coming to Sloan.
I think that we can agree to disagree on this one.